Hey everyone, pause for a second and imagine this. You've just buried the love of your life. Your heart feels like shattered glass every time you breathe. You're barely sleeping, barely eating, surviving on black coffee and sheer willpower. Then, 7 days later, you're forced to smile through your nephew's first birthday party, and your own sister stands up in front of 30 people, glass of cheap wine in hand, and announces, "My son isn't my ex's. He's your husband's. And thanks to the will he left behind, half your waterfront house now belongs to my little boy." The yard goes dead silent. Balloons bob in the breeze like they're mocking you. Everyone stares, at you, at her, at the toddler smearing cake on his high chair. Most people would break. Scream. Cry. Collapse. I didn't. I smiled. Because what my sister didn't know, what nobody knew, was that my husband had spent years quietly building an invisible fortress around me, precisely because he knew exactly what kind of person she really was. If you've ever had family turn on you when you were already on your knees, hit that like button right now. Subscribe if you want to see how deep betrayal can cut, and how sweet justice tastes when it finally lands. This one's long, it's raw, and it's real. Let's go. My name is Elena Marquez. 35. Widow for 3 months and 4 days. I still smell David's cologne on his favorite leather jacket hanging in the closet, sandalwood, cedar, a hint of coffee. I can't move it. Won't. We met 11 years ago at a rooftop art gallery opening in Seattle. Rain was drumming against the windows, turning the city lights into smeared watercolor streaks. I was there networking for my small architecture restoration firm. He was an environmental litigator who somehow ended up bidding insane money on a tiny framed sketch of the Puget Sound at dawn, just because he saw me staring at it too long. He walked over, raindrops still clinging to his dark hair, and handed me the package. "You were looking at this the way most people look at lost love," he said quietly. "It deserves someone who feels that way about it." That was David. Quietly devastating. Saw people. Really saw them. We married 18 months later on a foggy beach near Olympic National Park. No big wedding, just us, the tide coming in, and his vow, "I'll always choose to protect what matters most." That's you. Always you. We bought the house 5 years into our marriage. A Craftsman style on Bainbridge Island, $920,000 after a brutal bidding war. Cedar shakes, wraparound porch, windows that caught every sunrise over the water. We gutted it together over years, exposed beams, reclaimed fir floors, a kitchen where we'd cook late-night tacos and talk about everything and nothing. We tried for kids. God, we tried. 3 miscarriages. 2 failed adoptions that fell through at the last second. The last specialist visit, sterile white walls, cold gel on my stomach, the text face going blank. David held my hand so hard I thought bones would crack. On the ferry ride home, rain lashing the windows, he turned to me. "We don't need biology to be a family," he whispered. "We already are. And if the universe says no more, then I'll spend every remaining day making sure you're never alone in this." He meant it. We pivoted. Traveled, Patagonia, Iceland, Kyoto. I grew my firm, he made partner. The house became our sanctuary. We planted a Japanese maple in the backyard, our future kid tree, we joked. My younger sister, Marisol, was 4 years behind me. 31 now. Always the sparkler in the family, loud laugh, magnetic, reckless. While I was drafting blueprints and studying for licenses, she was chasing DJs, starting Etsy shops that lasted 3 months, racking up credit card debt our parents quietly paid. Mom and Dad called her our free spirit. I called her exhausting. She'd always measured herself against me. When I got engaged, she dated 3 guys in 6 weeks who looked like lawyers. When we bought the house, she posted cryptic Instagram stories about sisters who get everything handed to them. David saw it early. "She's not evil," he'd say, rubbing my shoulders after another tense family dinner. "She's just lost. And jealousy's a hell of a drug." He still invited her over. Still listened when she cried about breakups. Still believed family deserved grace. Then came her boyfriend, Jace, a tattoo artist with a rap sheet and a motorcycle that rattled the windows. They fought loud enough neighbors called police twice. Then, surprise, she was pregnant. At our parents' Christmas Eve dinner, she stood up, tears glittering like performance art. "This baby is my redemption," she declared. A fresh start. I felt the familiar knife twist of envy. After everything David and I had endured, she got pregnant by accident with a man who couldn't hold a job. But I swallowed it. Bought onesies. Showed up when she called at 3 a.m. because the baby had colic and Jace had stormed out again. I babysat little Mateo so she could sleep. David was polite but distant, always found a reason to be in his office when Marisol visited. I chalked it up to his own unresolved grief over our losses. Then the Tuesday. He woke with a splitting headache. Just dehydration, he said, kissing my forehead. Big deposition today. Love you. I never heard his voice again. Ruptured cerebral aneurysm. 41 years old. Gone before the ambulance even reached the hospital. The grief was tidal. I couldn't look at water without feeling like I was drowning. Marisol barely showed at the funeral, said Mateo had a fever. Sent a Snapchat selfie with him in a black onesie, thinking of you, sis broken heart. I didn't have energy to be angry. Act 2, the bomb/maximum frustration, 15-minute. Mateo's first birthday fell exactly 1 week after David's burial. Mom guilt-tripped me. David always said family shows up, Elena. Even when it hurts. So I went. Drove the ferry in fog so thick the horn sounded every minute. Wrapped gift on the seat beside me, a wooden train said I'd spent weeks sanding by hand. Marisol's cramped rental in West Seattle smelled like burnt cupcakes and vape. Balloons everywhere. Kids screaming. Adults drinking boxed wine. People avoided my eyes. Whispered when I passed. Marisol finally appeared, new blonde highlights, tight red dress, Mateo on her hip in a tiny bow tie. She looked triumphant. She clinked a spoon on a glass. Everyone? Quiet please. The chatter died. This year has been wild, she started. Loss. Love. Truths coming out. She locked eyes with me. Mateo isn't Jace's. He's David's. Gasps. A wine glass shattered. 2 years ago, David and we had a moment. A mistake. But it gave us this perfect boy. She pulled out folded papers. He updated his will before he passed. Half the Bainbridge house goes to his biological son. That's Mateo. My dad froze mid-sip. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. The yard felt 20 degrees colder. Wind off the sound whipped my hair. Everyone waited for me to explode. Instead, inside my chest, something cold and sharp clicked into place. I felt the corner of my mouth lift. Not joy. Not quite rage. Recognition. Because David had warned me, quietly, years ago, about Marisol. And he'd prepared. Act 3, the hidden fortress/escalation and investigation, 20-minute. I stood slowly. Can I see the document? My voice was calm. Too calm. Marisol hesitated, then strutted over and slapped it into my palm. I scanned. Wrong legalese. Signature too loopy, David's had a distinctive flat top on the D. This one curled like a cartoon. I handed it back. Thanks for sharing. I'm gonna head out. Mateo's day shouldn't be ruined. Her smirk faltered. That's it? You're not gonna fight? Not here, I said. Not today. I hugged my stunned parents goodbye. Walked to my car. Shut the door. Then the laugh came, low, broken, edged with tears. Because 3 years earlier, Marisol had crossed a line. It started innocently enough, dinner at our place. David cooked paella. Wine flowed. I took a client call in the study, 40 minutes of arguing about load-bearing walls. When I returned, Marisol was leaning into David's space, fingers trailing his wrist, giggling. He looked like he wanted to disappear. Later, in bed, he told me everything. She said I deserved someone who saw my value. Then she tried to kiss me. I pushed her away. Told her to leave. He documented it. Every incident after that, late-night texts, you're wasted on her, showing up at his office, brushing against him at family BBQs. We confronted our parents. They gaslit us, she's just affectionate. You're too sensitive. David's response was quiet steel. He distanced us. Blocked her. And then came his health scare. Chronic pain led to a specialist. Diagnosis, severe varicocele. Surgery fixed it, but the surgeon recommended a simultaneous vasectomy. Risk of recurrence was high, recovery would be brutal either way. We chose health over hypothetical future kids. The procedure happened 2.5 years before Mateo's conception. We told no one. Not family. Not friends. Our private grief stayed private. But David, my careful, protective David, did something else. He met with his estate attorney, Nora Lang. Documented Marisol's behavior. Filed medical proof of the vasectomy. Updated his real will, everything to me, ironclad. He even wrote me a letter. Sealed. If something happens and she tries to twist things, use this. Protect yourself. I love you enough to fight for you even when I'm gone. I didn't sleep that night after the party. Next morning, I went to our safety deposit box. There it all was. Real will. Vasectomy records, dated, signed, notarized. David's meticulous log, dates, screenshots, quotes. Nora's affidavit ready to swear authenticity. And the letter. I read it sitting on the bank floor, ugly crying. Elena, if you're holding this, I'm sorry I'm not there. But know this, you were never alone. You are enough. Always were. Use whatever you need to stay safe. My love doesn't stop. I called Nora. Hired a discreet PI, recommended by her firm. Within days, the picture emerged. Marisol, $92,000 in debt. Credit cards maxed. Medical bills from Mateo's early surgery, coarctation of the aorta, fixed, but expensive. Eviction notice taped to her door next week. Jace? Vanished to Portland with a new girlfriend. Child support? Zero. And texts to her best friend, the one who opened the door at the party. David's gone equals perfect timing. That house is worth $1 million now. Fake will's done, my buddy photoshopped the sig from an old article. Elena's too broken to fight. Finally my turn. Premeditated. Cruel. Calculated. I sat with that knowledge like a coal in my chest. Burning. Heavy. Righteous. I invited her over. Alone. She arrived smug, heels clicking on my porch. I led her to the dining room. Recorder on table, with consent, Washington's two-party state. Let's talk about the will, I said. She launched into her rehearsed story, secret lunches, a motel near the ferry terminal, David confessing he was unhappy. I let her finish. Then I asked surgical questions. What room number? What did he order from room service? Did he take his watch off first or last? She stumbled. Contradicted. Sweated. Then I laid it out. Medical records first. Vasectomy. 2.5 years before conception. 0 sperm count confirmed. Her face collapsed. Real will next. Filed properly. Witnessed. Leaves everything to me. Then the log. Texts. PI report. She broke. Sobbing, not crocodile tears. Real, choking ones. I'm drowning, she gasped. Eviction in 6 days. Mateo needs specialists. Jace left us nothing. I thought, if I could just get half. You thought ruining David's name was the price? My voice cracked. While I was still smelling his cologne on his pillow? She crumpled. I hated how perfect you looked from the outside. I wanted something, anything. I turned off the recorder. I could destroy you, I said quietly. Felony forgery. Fraud. Prison time. You'd lose Mateo to foster care. She flinched. But I won't. Her head snapped up. Not for you. For him. For David, who loved family even when it didn't love him back. My terms. Full public retraction, at a family meeting. Written apology to me and David's memory. Permanent no contact except co-parenting logistics for Mateo. Therapy. Financial literacy classes. Steady job minimum 1 year. In exchange. I set up a medical and education trust for Mateo, $180,000 seated now, more later. Help finding subsidized housing, through contacts. I stay in Mateo's life, as aunt. Regular visits. No interference. She stared like I'd spoken another language. Why? Because Mateo didn't ask for any of this. And David would hate seeing him suffer because of you. She agreed. Shaking. The family meeting was brutal. Parents stunned. Marisol confessed, voice small, no excuses. Mom cried. Dad raged, at her, finally. I spoke last. This isn't forgiveness. It's boundaries. No more bailouts. No more excuses. Respect that my grief, and David's name, aren't bargaining chips. Mom tried the but family line. I shut it down. Family doesn't weaponize death. Family doesn't forge documents while someone mourns. If you enable that again, you'll lose me too. Silence. Then Dad hugged me. David raised the bar high, he whispered. You're clearing it. Closing, catharsis and reflection, 10-minute. 1 year later. The Japanese maple is blooming, tiny red leaves against the sound. Mateo calls me Tia Lena. We build Lego forts. Read about boats. He asks about David sometimes. I tell him the truth, he was kind. He loved big. Marisol stable, office job at a vet clinic. Therapy twice a week. We text about Mateo's appointments. Nothing more. My parents learned. Slowly. They help with Mateo directly now, no cash to Marisol. I started the David Marquez Legal Aid Fund, scholarships for environmental law students from low-income families. Met someone new last spring. A park ranger named Caleb. Gentle. Patient. Knows grief isn't a race. We walk the beach at sunset. No rush. David's letter sits in my nightstand. I still read it when the ache returns. He protected me. Not with anger. With foresight. With love. With proof. So my message to anyone watching who's been betrayed by the people who should have protected you. Document. Set boundaries. Protect your heart like it's evidence. Because sometimes the greatest revenge isn't destruction. It's surviving, beautifully, fiercely, on your own terms. And knowing the person who loved you best made sure you could. If this hit home, drop a comment. Ever had to draw a hard line with family? How did it change things? Like. Subscribe. Share if someone needs to hear this. Healing isn't pretty. But it's possible. And sometimes, justice wears a very quiet smile.